But it's really been fascinating to study this and see where this country's going and how little we actually understand about how our money system works that we use every day. And I guarantee you I have read quite a few economic books in the last 20 years. As you can see by looking at the letters, this first letter I wrote was in 1982, so I've had some time to study it. And I have spent most of my life since that time studying this, and very little except, you know, obviously you have to make a living. And this cute little girl I married, she's not, well, she's still pretty cute, but she's not so young anymore. And she demands some of my time, so obviously you can't just spend 100% of your time sitting there reading books about money. But, you know, it's amazing how little you read about the effects of the debt and effects of interest. And I think there's a real reason the Bible says we shouldn't charge interest. And I think it's much more clear than it was actually put in the Bible. But because if you think about it, and if I had just 10% of the total money supply of the United States, and I started loaning it out, and everybody else just spent their money, you know, doing business, buying and selling and doing things, it would only take me 25 years before, through the interest, at compound interest at 10%, I would own all the money in the United States if I only had 10% to start with. And that's, interest on money is the surest and subtlest way to destroy any nation there is, any society there is. John Maynard Keynes said the surest and subtlest way to destroy the existing basis of any society is to balk its currency. It engages all the hidden forces of economic law on the side of destruction, and it does it not in a manner that not one man in a million will ever understand. And if you guys will bear with me, I'd like to show you something. I'll take these things down. Because going back to the letter from Muscle Monk that said they get this by just putting numbers in your checking account, I would like to draw that out for you, because this is the way it works. We start out, I don't have any money, the bank don't have any money, I have a checking account, but there's nothing in it, and I need some money. And basically this is how I started my whole life, if you want to know the truth. I didn't have much, and when I got through borrowing the money from my dad, I still didn't have much money. I had some property and a little bit of equipment, not a lot of that. And so obviously I needed some money. And so you go to the bank and you say, well, I should need some money and to do this and that. And I got so much land and I got so much feed and I got a couple of cows. So if you'd loan me so much money to get some more, I could do a lot better. And okay, so they say, okay, write me out a promissory note. And we're just going to say I borrow $1,000. This goes on the books of the bank as an asset to the bank. Now I have a promissory note down here that I owe for. Now this is my liability. So now I have a brand new asset, or the bank does, and I have a brand new liability. So then he goes over and he puts this money in my checking account, and he puts the same amount of money I borrowed into my checking account as a liability to the bank. And then that gives me also a brand new asset, because this is considered my asset as well. So now the bank has a brand new asset and a brand new liability. I have a brand new liability and a brand new asset, and now I have $1,000 to spend. The problem is that I have to pay him interest on this, and he does not have to pay me interest on that. So pretty quick, this debt keeps growing, his asset and my debt grows. When the interest on, pretty quick, I owe $1,100 at 10% interest, right? So now he has an asset worth $1,100, but my checking account's still only $100, isn't it? In fact, I always noticed that once I got in there, I spent it, and I didn't have that either. Now, I may have had a new car, or a new cow, or a tractor, or something, and believe it or not, on my books, my asset switched from cash to something else, but I no longer had the cash. And I can tell you from real hard personal experience that you would never want to experience, you can't give these assets to the bank to pay your note. They will not take it. They refuse. Now, they can come out and beat you up or do anything else and take that stuff for you for payment of that note, but you can't give it to them. And you don't want to know how I found this all out by personal experience. I'll save that for another story. Okay, so now, as we went through it, and we clearly saw this with the actual currency, now I have to do something with this stuff I produced to get more back into this banking account. Now we hope the cow I borrowed maybe has a calf and puts on some weight, and so I can be able to sell them and get this back. But to do that, as we clearly saw, somebody else has to get in debt, don't they? Okay, now my liability down here is court enforceable. You can go to any court in the land, the bank will, and they will take anything you have to pay him that. In property or cash, only through foreclosure. You can't give him the property unless he forecloses. Then they'll take that property to try to regain this. But you can't sue him, you can't do anything to ever make him pay anything on that liability, because he says, well, you've been paid. My liability is payment. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I'd love to run around town and write IOUs that I never had to pay and get to buy anything I wanted. How about you? You think your lifestyle would improve? You don't think that this would make this guy the richest guy in town, or this system the richest system in the world? And isn't it amazing when they go to health care, and I'm not going to get in whether you approve of it or disapprove, I don't want to get into that. But you know, that bill takes months and months of arguing, didn't it? How long did it take for them to give the banks a $7 billion bailout? How long did that take for that law to get passed? I don't think it was 2 or 3 days, was it? How come these guys only have to say I need it and it rolls forth right now? And it's an amazing thing too, because you, I, or the government couldn't have any money till the bank created and loaned it to us anyway. So how in the world could they need a bailout, and where would we get the money to bail it out except to borrow it from them? Something's missing there, ain't there? I like this girl, she's a thinker. She's going to have a lot of debt in her lifetime, but she's going to think about it. Because even if she don't borrow it personally, we've already borrowed it for her. And I guarantee you, I don't want to be a Democrat or Republican, but I guarantee these Democrats like to put you more and more taxes on you, don't they? And I guarantee you that money has to come from someplace too. So every time your state, your township, your city, your school district gets deeper in debt, it settles right there on that generation sooner or later. And the sad part about it is that this system, all they can do is shift it onto their kids. And how long do you think that can go on before something has to give? I have a chart, and I don't have it right with me up here today. I didn't think about it, bringing it today for this particular session, that I had made up. A friend of mine, I did the research on it. My friend wrote it up. And it shows by 2016, the debt will be so large that at just 6% interest, the interest alone will be $1 billion greater than the total consumer income of everyone in America. Now, I don't know exactly what that means, but I know it can't be good. Because I'm 60, never mind, some years old, and I have never met anybody when the bank demanded the money and the interest. If they didn't pay it, they got to keep their playthings. What happens when the total society's, here Tommy went and got the chart. What happens when the total society's interest load is greater than the total society's income? You can pass that around and look at it. Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know, because I can tell you these guys have unbelievable manipulative powers. But I know the economy can't really improve. And I also know, and I want to go through and show you this,